And I want to welcome you to our third installment with my battle buddy, who is not here today because he is on leave, Kevin Mcfadden. Before we get going, I just want to kind of throw out some admin notes to you guys out there, real quick. That one, if you are looking for work and you are or training, you're more than welcome to come down to one of our local Arizona at Work offices. We are located Cochise, Graham, and Greene County, and the Sierra Vista office is located 2600 East Wilcox Drive. Their phone number is 520-458-9309. We have our Douglas office that is located at 515 East 7th Street in Douglas. Their number is 520-365-8906. Last but not least, in our Safford office, we have two locations. One on 333 North 8th Avenue. Phone number is 928-428-3016 inside the DES building. Last but not least, our satellite office or affiliate office located on 1910 West Thatcher Boulevard. Their phone number is 928-432. I'm just being told to slow down by our producer. I apologize. And 6932. All right. So I want to do a couple shout outs. First off, I think I kind of failed myself as a parent last week. I kind of made some mix-ups. I want to make some corrections. One to my son, Chief Petty Officer Robert Currier, who's stationed in Germany. God forbid if I say petty officer. They don't like that, I guess. Then my other son, Corporal Ryan Currier, who is stationed at Fort Carson, not Fort Hood. He got a little upset over that. I don't know why. Just an honest mistake. All right, so what we're going to do today, I want you guys to think about this. 131 years ago, this week, there was a gentleman by the name of Sergeant McBriar, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He was stationed in the Arizona Territory out at Fort Thomas, and there was an incident that happened. He participated in what became known as the Cherry Creek Campaign. A gentleman by the name of Fred Herbert was ambushed and killed by some hostile Apaches, allegedly. So units of K Troop of the 10th U.S. Cavalry was assigned to track down the Apaches and bring them to justice. So Sergeant McBriar and 9 other soldiers caught up with the Apaches in a rocky, narrow canyon along the Gila River. Gunfire was exchanged until 2 Apaches were killed and 3 others surrendered. There were no soldiers wounded or killed. Sergeant McBriar led the soldiers on to their next objective, to a cave where the Apaches were hiding out. He used his skilled marksmanship to shoot into the cave until the surviving Apaches surrendered. For his participation in the conflict, Sergeant McBriar received a Medal of Honor. Later on, in his distinguished career, he wound up getting a battlefield commission in the Spanish-American War. This is kind of a neat story because this leads into our guest for this week. And I don't even think we have the right words to introduce you, ma'am. You just don't even know what to say. You're such a big deal. So without further ado, I want to introduce my battle, my sister, Demetria Warren. Welcome, sister. It's awesome to have you on today. It really is.
Thank you so much. I embrace you with love and kindness. I want to give a shout out to all of our descendants to say it's a great day. We are here.
We are.
We are here. I am the president of the Southwest Association of Buffalo Soldiers. We are locally here in the Sierra Vista Fort Huachuca community. We have been incorporated since 1992. We are educational and historical events. We pass on the significance of the Buffalo Soldier to educate from 1866 all the way to 1944, which is in the Currier War, to go beyond, to honor and to pass on their legacy to the future upcoming. In saying so, we do 3 major projects every year, which is the Spirit of the Buffalo Soldier, which I'm so excited. I want to talk about that today. We do Buffalo Soldier Days, which is so grand to recognize and share our history. And we are active participants as veterans, and we do participate every year in the Veterans Parade and ceremonies that go on beyond, and we do that. The Mountain View Officers Club, which is on Fort Huachuca, is still our project that leads the way. That is a living monument to the significance of our hero. So, Jerry, you told a fantastic story today. That is one story out of thousands.
Because the other day, and I just want to give a huge shout out to my battle, Elias Guadalupe G. This took us a little bit, about over an hour, 2 hours trying to figure out a story. And so G brought up a good point. Let's try and find someone who is awarded the Medal of Honor this time frame, this week.
Ooh.
And the list was phenomenal. And, and I think people fail to understand, Medal of Honor is a huge deal.
It is.
Especially, I feel, because you and I have known each other.
For the sacrifices above and beyond.
Exactly.
Not only for me and you, but he protected for us now today.
Yeah. And, one, and it shows today, he's a non-commissioned officer.
He was a non-commissioned officer.
And I think it's kind of a neat story because he effectively led his troops to engage
the
hostile.
Courage and the boldness, the integrity to protect his own, to ensure that the soldiers were safe.
Exactly. While still engaging the enemy. Is that not story significant then as it is today? Very much so. We're both retired non-commissioned officers.
I am.
And we understand we take an oath.
Yes.
And that oath is not to be taken lightly.
Not to be taken lightly.
It's kind of corny, but I used to tell we take a holy oath if you think about it. So when you have soldiers who are under your I don't want to use the word care, but under your leadership, it's part of your duty to make sure they're effectively trained, they're effectively led.
And we use the term Buffalo Soldier that was given to us from the Indians as the significance of how strong that they stood out. But I want to bring out the point that Buffalo Soldiers were originated from black soldiers, and they came from home together.
Mm-hmm.
They enlisted together. Not only were they buddies, battle buddies, but they were brothers.
Mm-hmm.
They held on to each other. Those groups of families, which we call platoons, which we call companies, stood together.
Mm-hmm.
And the trials that they went through that was proven to be a little bit more stringent than what we call normal.
What would be a typical duty day? Well, let me ask you this. What were some of the missions that they originally were assigned to before combat starting?
So what I love to tell people is, you remember the wagon train that was going out west? It didn't have no name. The wagon train.
Those wagon trains.
The wagon
transporters, by God.
They were leaving Texas. Once you leave the state of Texas, a lot of people don't know territory.
It's a lot of nothing.
A lot of nothing. But lived in that territory was our family of Indians. So to bring the wagon train through the
Could you do that one more time? The wagon train.
The wagon train.
Very dramatic.
Oh my God. So they were devastated. So here it is. We have the opportunity to bring forward a regiment of black soldiers.
What's interesting is, you bring up the wagon train. They didn't have contractors to build the post.
Dirt road. We got this beautiful road out there called I-10, which was the dirt road.
The soldiers also had to take care. They had to do all this themselves.
They had to do all that themselves. So these things we take for granted. No fancy cars,
KBR.
no fancy cell phones, and if someone would bring some supplies, they might be there. And then the supplies that showed up may be one or two of the total package.
We're getting paid every month.
Oh, that's the $13 that turned out to be $6 for your black soldier was just.
So why was that, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, they were always the fees seems to be uniforms, care, and your bed and your cot. It seems like, well, why do we have to pay for that? For some reason, the black soldiers were taking all of that for what they call service. The quiet undertones of, well, you told us that if we joined and we enlisted, that we would promise, a bed and a cot, we eat. But then they would turn around and take funds from them for uniforms that they never received. They would give them, these things. We like, well, what happened to all of that?
What was that back in the day? They gave you $100 but take back 99.
Take back 99. It's just amazing. And it's so true. And it's so
really
misleading. But they deemed that these black soldiers should escort this wagon train in the territory.
Interesting.
And they actually succeeded and didn't understand how they succeeded. How did they get across there? And there were I can mention a couple of Medal of Honor winners who went through that battle to ride with the wagon train to get to those destinations.
We were looking up one of the gentlemen the other day, and one was it was a robbery. They were responding to a robbery.
6 of them.
Yeah.
It was 6 of them.
But it was a very intense engagement.
Yes.
And I believe the gentleman, he was another non-commissioned officer?
He was non-commissioned officer. That's right.
God bless the NCO
So
Corps.
these things had happened. They are true. And the other conflict that I love to disperse is they think it was 1 or 2 black soldiers. They were regiments, 9th Cavalry, the 10th Cavalry, the 24th, the 25th Cavalry, the 40th.
2 were cavalry, 2 infantry?
2 infantry.
Okay.
That is correct.
And where were they predominantly, where did they work and what was their area of operations?
Coming out west, I will talk primarily about west here. We talk about the dirt road in the territory. And it was deemed that we should take over the territory because remember, there's no colonies.
Right.
So this territory, they wanted to claim it as to being a part of these states.
Right.
At that time, Arizona was in the states established until 1912. 1877, Camp Guachuca was established. Camp Guachuca, they came up with this great idea that they wanted to protect and guard the border town coming from Mexico to America. So they begin to send the Negro soldiers here. They send them down for that mission to protect the border. Not along with tracking down the Apache Indians, getting the wagon train through, making sure that there were building structures, however it may be seen. In those days, the black soldiers were the blacksmith, they were the cooks, they did all of the work that was a part of building structures, not alone taking care of families, and to ensure that they made it to wherever their destination. I want to dare to tell you that California was docking ships from that part of America, and those ships that were docking, they were establishing colonies on that side of America. Quiet kept secret, right? Why is it such a quiet kept secret? Well, it just so happened in 1890s, 1880s, we had a fabulous called Gold Rush going on in California. So there was a lot of wagon trains that was trying to get there to establish territories, homes, these homes that were never, they never went anywhere. So it was great that the black soldiers were able to escort them, be successful at something. And that was what the greatness that came out of it was, well, you were supposed to, I guess you're supposed to get killed coming through there. You wasn't supposed to make it, but they made it. And they did great things.
It's fascinating. I was reading a book a while back talking about the Indian campaigns, the Indian wars, if you will. And there was an article where it basically said, one, it was either hit or miss. It could be the most boringest duty assignment ever. You could go your whole career without really getting into a fight. But if there was a fight, it was the most intense.
Was the most intense.
Very intense. The aggression of the fight.
Yes.
And, it's just really interesting. People fail to realize that, we were kind of joking about this earlier. If you were to look at the full basic load of a soldier carrying those days versus what a soldier carries today, they didn't go to the range on a regular basis like we do today.
No.
So it's a fascinating story. It really is.
Whatever was on their back at that time, that's what they had. They rode with it. And that was your little roll up where you had your little tent and you had your little pan and your fork and a spoon and you had your little shaver and, they had the little crackers. And
the hardtack.
The hardtack.
Which I hear is horrible.
I'm going to I found out that someone can make it for me. I'm going to get some made.
That'd be awesome.
I'm going to try it.
I was watching this thing. Basically, if you had bacon grease, that it was recommended that you cook it into bacon grease so you could eat it.
And for those who don't know, it looks like a cracker, but it is hollow. It's so solid. You have to dip it in your coffee to make it soft so you can chew on it.
The first dehydrated meal, first MREs.
First MREs.
Yeah, first MREs. And people complain about MREs.
People complain about it. Oh, my God, complain about MREs.
Beans and hardtack.
That's how they made it. So, moving forward, Camp Guachuca established 1877, the 9th, 24th, 25th, showed up here somewhere around 1890 because now they wanted to establish the fort. That's what happened. They had already been carrying people, going out, looking for Indians all over this territory.
Plus Mexico. We've always had a border issue with Mexico.
We had a border issue with Mexico. That's called Naco. A lot of people call it Camp Naco. It is now Fort Naco. It is still there. It became a barracks for them. So literally the border's there. Literally you could walk across the street and they would go rest and then go right back to the border. A lot of people don't know that the black soldiers actually did walk those mountains to make sure that they were safe.
It's interesting. Like going to the Post Museum on Fort Huachuca.
Yes.
It has some really cool photos.
Yes.
Because it's interesting, the Army is transitioning from the Indian campaigns into the 20th century, into the punitive expedition against Mexico. People don't realize we invaded them on more than one occasion. And so the history, in my opinion, gets better. It gets really amazing.
It's rich with true stories. The reason that we adopt and embrace the Buffalo Soldiers is because of their integrity to continue to fight. They would never quit because of the things, for lack of words, today we want to whine about cleanup. But back then, it was survival. You had to build your home. And that little bit of $6 had to go back to those families who were back there, where we don't want to talk about that as slavery, where they were sent back to homes who were sharecroppers now. That was all they had to survive on. So the families were there receiving those things. The soldiers are here doing what they had to do in order to they could take care of their families.
No, and it's just as amazing, too. So your family's back in somewhere in the South and you're stationed out here at Camp Guachuca. Yes. You may not see. You don't get to go on leave whenever you want.
We don't get to see that, and that's when the Colonel Charles. Ooh, I lost my thought just for that moment.
Sorry,
Colonel,
sir.
Yeah, sorry, sir.
My bad.
Hold on, let's correct that. Let's get
this
that.
This way you just throw the papers up.
Colonel Young was a chaplain, and one of his purposes here was to ensure that every year they would sit down and they would come to a letter that they could send home to the families and the mothers. And they did that every year. Colonel Young did that. He was the chaplain. And that was one of his most things that history tells us, that they ensured that they passed that on. Now you remember, during that period of time, black people were not allowed to learn to read and to write.
Well, up into the civil rights movement, that's a whole different discussion.
That's a whole different discussion. So for him to sit down and to ensure that some type of letter would go home was just
It
fabulous.
was a huge deal.
Oh, that was just...
It's like, why are you doing this?
Why are we doing
Yeah.
this? And when we can learn from each other, that one letter would last, and that'll give you so much encouragement.
Well, and I could only imagine if you're this soldier that never really put words to paper,
Right.
and you're taught how to read and write, you're taught how to do this, and next thing you know, you're sitting at home and you get this letter, and that might be the first time you've communicated with each other for a very long time. And what's kind of funny, though, being a Gulf War veteran, I think was the last time we actually sent mail back and forth. But we take texting for granted. We take email for granted. Back then, that was...
Wow, that's an interesting point. Because the letters that we did in OIF for the kids that would, from the schools, that would send them over there. And the soldiers would write back. And it was the most magnificent feeling. And then the soldier wanted to go to that school. And they wanted to see them and hug them and hold them. Because, sometimes when you're out and your mind is alone and there's nobody there but your battle buddy, I'm tired of looking at him.
Really?
And when you get that letter and you open it up from that young person, or your mom or your auntie or your uncle, that's the only thing you have to hold on to.
And I think it's kind of interesting, too, how many nights would you be laying in your cot, you pull out a letter from your family.
And read it over.
And you would keep that letter on you until it's starting to fall apart.
Until it gets apart. I still have the letters from my basic training. My great uncle, he's passed now, wrote me letter.
Yeah,
and I kept it. The letter my mom sent me. I kept it. My aunt sent me letter. I kept these things.
But it's just really, I think it's a neat story. It really is.
It really is. This is great.
These soldiers set the stage for amazing things to come.
Right.
And their combat record is phenomenal. And what's kind of a sad story in a way, they kept getting screwed over throughout their existence, but they still maintained their pride, their discipline, their honor.
Yes.
And
every mission that they was given, they were given it, and they took it to the heart, to the integrity, the nature, the leadership, to be proud, the esprit de corps, that they supported each other and the things that they've done. And that's so important.
I just want to interrupt here real quick. So just a fast commercial break, if you will. So if you're a veteran and you have questions on disability ratings or, how to get it going, how to do an increase, come on down to the Warrior Healing Center at 1838 Paseo San Luis, and we can put you in touch with a veteran service officer. And those of you that don't know what that is, these are individuals that have been trained to assist you and tell you the process of how to do a disability rating or an increase, if you will. Also, if you are just interested, there's 54 organizations down here. Come on down, check them out. Some from the Vietnam Veterans of America to the Women Warriors. Come on down.
We got the Buffalo Soldiers.
Yeah.
And I am looking specifically for veterans coming out to join our organization to move us forward. We have these 2 campaigns that just have gone on. We have no representation of that. We need to hear what's going on.
And that's what I wanted to talk to you about a little bit, because I think it was about a week ago, went into detail why you do what you do. The importance of the Buffalo Soldier legacy.
Yes, the importance of the Buffalo Soldier legacy. Because in our culture today, 2021, the black families feel so ripped apart, like they have no support. And the stories that I am hearing today relate to stories that I have read in our history books about how they came through in the military. These stories are so true. What stands out is that we have women and men who have integrity, who were true to who they were. They had courage. They stood out. These are the ones that we talk about. We talk about the character of the man that we talk about, because now in 2021, we seem to not find anyone that we can go to and we can talk to or feel like they're going to be honest with me and tell me the truth of what happened, what's going on, why are we going through this? To the point that the kids are running around calling each other niggers and don't know the definition of it or where it comes from. So we have these discussions and talk about it. And then we reflect back into history to find out where does this come from and what does it mean and how is it affecting me? But when you can hear about people like Lieutenant McBride and the integrity that he had, he took care of his soldiers, that boldness,
what's
courage.
Fascinating about Sergeant McBride, he was half white. So he had the double whammy.
There you go.
Because he had, I would think, more of a challenge.
Yes. He had more of a challenge because if you read in our history books, I got a book right here, and they talk about who was going to be in charge of the black soldiers. When you could find a leader amongst the black soldiers to be a leader and to actually stand up and say, this is what's needed, that's what he did.
Yeah,
that's what he did.
Like I said, we spent time going through the list, and one, like I was saying earlier, 131 years ago this week.
Yes.
And I believe it. Yeah. So, but you read about him, and it's like, wow, this guy, he's a stud.
He's a stud.
He's a true NCO.
He's stud.
He's a phenomenal officer.
Today we give out the award called Spirit of the Buffalo Soldier Award. It is for our community and for our young people in the schools. We have 15 schools in our local community, and we have reached out to the teachers and the principals to tell us the students who need that encouragement. These students have been failing, and they're struggling with D's and C's and trying to achieve another level, but they never get anything. Nobody tells them don't quit. Nobody tells them that. So we took it upon ourselves. It's been 14 years going. I'm so proud. It has become our signature program to go into the schools, and the teachers tell us from each classroom who is having that struggle. We in turn take those names. We are proud to say just this last Friday, we received 170 names out of 15 schools in our local community right here from 4th grade to high school. They receive a certificate from the Buffalo Soldiers signed by the president, the board of directors, the chairman, and it gives them that encouragement. We have it's a medal. It's a real medal, and it has a long ribbon on it. And each one of these students have one, and then we put together a souvenir booklet that lists down the Buffalo Soldiers, and their names are listed in it. The greatness is Buffalo Soldiers were sent out west in the territory with nothing, do the wagon thing, and they literally were just lost, and they had to figure it out.
And it's amazing. My wife and I went to Fort Bowie, and I went to I actually got to walk the battlefield of Apache Pass.
Apache Pass, yes.
You look at the terrain in Arizona, it's not that bad. I mean, it's not that. It wasn't what I read when I got to see it. Yes. So, I take it upon you guys out there. These places are not that far away. Go out and look at these battle sites, like where Sergeant McBride, his section at. Holy crap. I mean, you look at the terrain they fought on, it's like, wow. Yes. There's not small boulders in Arizona.
There's no small boulders in Arizona. And it wasn't easy. And, we take it for granted. We sleep out in the desert. And you wake up, it's cold. Then you got to get warmed up. Yeah. And then you got to get back on your horse and ride some more. They did that day after day after day.
And I have to give them props. I mean, the challenges they faced in general. Mm-hmm. Then let's ratchet up and down. Now you're going to go into combat.
Yes.
And they performed
exceedingly.
Yeah.
They did way beyond.
Amazing.
So the three of them want to ride. The three of them went to ride. They were running to these Indians, and the three of them came back.
And so I would.
So this is with the pride that we pass
exactly.
on. To grab a hold to McBriar and says, learn this story to tell that story to the next one. When we get these type of stories that we can pass on to a young person who's struggling with a C or D, and then their mom comes back to us that, hey, thank you for coming and helping and supporting us, because the mom has been struggling to help the students, but they don't have that support. So
Right.
for the first time, a young man can put on he has his award, and I'm walking around and he's saying, I am smart. Yes, he is. And he doesn't quit.
It's a phenomenal legacy.
It's a phenomenal legacy.
Words can't really describe it. From being.
But we all struggle with that. Even today, as being an adult, the teachers are struggling. I tell them, don't quit. The superintendents are struggling because they don't even have the funds enough to take care of the schools that they want to take care of. I tell them, don't quit. We got chaplains that's running around here praying for each and every one, and they're saying, well, God help them. Don't quit. Keep telling that story. Colonel Young did it. Keep telling it.
And it's interesting because, we both sat in Iraq. It's a miserable place. It's hot. It's a heat. Mm-hmm. Oh, my God, it's just miserable. So think about your worst day, people. Mm-hmm. Those of you in Afghanistan, Iraq, I don't care what campaign. Try to remember what suck really means. And, these guys, these soldiers, just saying suck is a polite thing because what they endured day in, day out, and then be expected to carry on with the mission.
Right. And before I leave that, I want to shift a little bit about the women. I saw her statue here, and I remembered to speak on the women. Yes, there were black women in the military. Did they, in the early 1800s, did they actually sign the documents? What I want to say is I want to challenge you to think that when that man left home to do his duties as a man, who was the woman at home that picked up the shotgun, went outside, got the eggs from the chicken, made sure the garden was taken care of, and if someone rolled up to them, who was the one that challenged them?
Oh, exactly. Mama Bear.
Yes. So
let me ask you this. So
yes.
If I'm an individual, because you were saying a while back that you're trying to recruit new people, trying to get more people interested in the program.
Yes.
Well, the Buffalo Soldier Association. So how do I do that? If I'm a veteran or non-veteran,
very easily.
How do I hunt you down?
Very easily. You can find us on Facebook. Everybody's on Facebook. AZ Swabs, AZSWABS, Southwest Association of Buffalo Soldiers, AZ Swabs on Facebook. Or we have a website that is SWA, Southwest Association, SWA Buffalo Soldiers with an S.org. You can find us there. All you do is put in a little chat to contact. Received the email just yesterday, young man. Mm-hmm. He's wanting to know the list of names in 1900. In the 9th cavalry, can he get a list of names? I can only imagine that he's looking for grandpa, grandma.
It's fascinating.
Yes.
My brother and I were talking about, we were doing our whole lineage stuff, as our family of soldiers, blah, blah, blah. And I found a muster roll out of New Orleans. It was a Southern unit.
Yes.
A bunch of Curriers.
Yes.
I don't know if we're related, but I thought it was kind of cool.
Yes.
But I was thinking long and hard about this the other day. And yeah, our podcast is dedicated to looking for employment and things like that. Yes. Very important. However, I think it's important for people to understand as veterans, we give back.
We give back.
We come home, whether it's retired, it doesn't matter. We come home and there's like something that's missing sometimes.
Yes.
So it's also important to look at the veterans that dedicate themselves, such as you, to organizations like this, volunteering to keep. Because some people
don't be alone out there.
Yeah.
Don't be alone. You will run and talk to people who understand your mindset. And I'm feeling it now. It's the challenge of the mindset that we look out for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of what race or kind, we look out for each other. But it seems to be when we get out and talk to just casual people day to day, they're not looking out for each other.
Mm-mm.
And that's what we find here. We're looking out for each other. We weren't in the same campaign, but we know that I can depend on him. Still to this day, he's my battle buddy.
I think it was kind of funny. And the last week, I don't mean to throw myself under a bus, but I got picked on by the other veterans because I was wearing a flamingo shirt. I rocked it. I thought I did.
It was a Friday.
I'm not going to
mention.
And
it was colorful.
I'm not going to mention her name here. I'm not going to say nothing. But she leaned over and said, "Jerry, don't ever wear that shirt ever again." So I go home and I'm telling my amazing wife Linda, the other veterans made fun of me because I wore a flamingo shirt. And she was like, "Jerry, you rocked that shirt." I said, "I know, but it's just kind of funny. If that was been anybody else, it'd been a fight. It would have been. But when you're sitting with your battles, your sisters,
with your battles, because we love each other. I know next week he gonna put that same shirt right back on.
I did yesterday. I did it when I knew you weren't coming.
But we are open, and please come join us. Look for the Buffalo Soldiers. Come and get in our conversation. We have membership. It's really cheap. We are looking. Come on in. We're looking for those leaders, young people, the people who are just getting out. I remember when I got out, I was like, I need to join an organization. Come join the Buffalo Soldiers. It's very easily free to come to the meetings.
Exactly.
Take part. Volunteer. We just did the school program. That was so much fun.
So right now, you guys are having meeting virtually because of COVID?
Virtually because of COVID. We meet once a month. We are on Zoom. And what happens is when you email me, I will send you the link so you can come on and join with us. And we talk about the issues. We just finished the Spirit of Buffalo Soldier Wars. Kids were just fabulous. All the superintendents were there. Everybody was invited and they loved it.
And I've seen pictures where they actually dress up in the period.
Yes.
Uniform period.
Yes, we dress up in the period uniform so we can go into schools and tell the stories, and or we can come out to different businesses, communities, and do presentations and tell one segment of some sort of story that was significant to the era, whatever is going on. We will be doing, our next event is the Juneteenth flag raising. Let me back up. We just finished the Spirit of Buffalo Soldier Wars in school from 4th grade to 12th grade, and that was fantastic. We're asking for them to send pictures or tell us what their thoughts was on Facebook, AZ Swabs. They can find us there. And then next month in May is when the release of the scholarship funds to the kids. So the monies that we receive during the year, we send those kids to college with some type of something to help. If it isn't to pay for a class, to pay for their books, it helps out.
So if I'm just that person that just wanted to find out, what would be some of the things that you would recommend maybe I start reading, or maybe to kind of get an idea more, learn more about these individuals?
Oh, absolutely. I'm so glad you mentioned that. The first book that I want to tell you is The Buffalo Soldier by William Wiki. This is monumental. It's going to make you mad. I had another buddy read it in the first chapter. Boy, she raised hell because the truth comes out. We have the story of Kathy Williams, which is the female Buffalo Soldiers. Sometimes I wear my female Buffalo Soldiers. Is that a true story? It is a true story.
Well,
it's a true story.
Just a real quick side note, though. I did a presentation. There's been one female Medal of Honor recipient.
Yes, there's only one.
And they revoked it because she wasn't really, she was a contractor. They revoked it, but they had to give it back to her.
They had to give it back to her. Kathy was she was a woman that she disguised herself as a man to come in. Because remember, a woman's place in the early 1860s was to provide for that male counterpart.
Yeah.
So because all the soldiers left, she disguised herself. And she was able to succeed for over 2 years.
Oh, wow.
It was a great thing. And there's a whole other story with that. So for y'all women that are out there, believe me, since 1868 with Kathy Williams, where she married that fabulous man after she thought she left, and he stole everything she had, and she didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
She picked up and started again. And guess what? When she started again, she met another man, and they keep doing it. Now I'm not talking about I'm a bashing man, but there's some deep stories out there.
You can get kind of you get mean sometimes.
I'm not mean. But our current story that we're doing right now is this one here. I'm fighting for Uncle Sam. This is the current one, and this one is easy to read it because it's a picture book.
I was going to say I need a lot of pictures.
Yeah, this is a picture book. So you will you'll like it. It's got pictures of Camp Guachuca. Tells about the Mexicans. Tells everything. It's a picture book. This one, John Langolier. I'm gonna try and see if I can invite him to come out to service at some given time. So these is where we start, small and basic. You mentioned it about the writing and the pen pal. It's in my heart to bring that back. Bring it back with the books so that we can share that story. But please come on out with us. You can contact us on our website, swabuffalosoldiers.org, and then we can share all of these different types of things that we have, from the school recognition to telling people here, this is good. The scholarships, same way, just all you have to do is to go to the website, and we send the applications in for the scholarship for the kids going to school. That's fantastic. And then in June 5th, I think the first Saturday in June, we will raise the Juneteenth flag.
Nice.
That's what Abraham Lincoln assigned emancipation. And so the soldiers from Fort Huachuca are going to come out. They're going to raise the flag. Yeah, it's not going to be but an hour. It's going to be at the Tompkins Park in Sierra Vista. I believe it's at 11 o'clock in the morning.
And I feel bad because it's a term I just started hearing here in the last couple of years. Honestly, the June. I have, and it's before we go, but we first met each other. It was weird. You're telling me a story about 2007-ish.
Yes. And
one of the things I love the idea I love about veterans is, we've worked with each other off and on all these years. Mm-hmm. Go periods of time, you're doing your contract thing, all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. So just recently, because of COVID, you were in there doing unemployment.
Right.
And we were sitting outside talking. That's when I found out you're president of the Buffalo Soldier Association. So what I want to reiterate about our veterans, you have no idea, honestly, who you're talking to. You don't really know a lot about them. They served our country, retired or just did their time. But it's fascinating when you find out about them.
Yeah, thank you for
really
that.
Is cool.
And that's a great point for the veterans to know. When we're talking to each other, we help. He opened the door and said, "Come see me. Come talk to me. Let's look at your resume. Let's put it out." And I'm like, "Wow,
it was an awesome resume."
I said, "Okay, So I'm like, "Man, this is a benefit from all that field time I had to do and being at North Gate and the main gate and going down to Mexico." I'm like, "Look in the world." So Jerry has coming here to the center. It has been a world of wealth. I've met the women warriors. The women warriors themselves, that organization support women, which is a conversation all by itself.
It's interesting. Yeah, you're right. And I won't really get into it, but I will reiterate a discussion my counterpart and I had. We don't see a lot of women warriors. You're one of the few we've worked with. So our question was, where the heck do they go? So, and it's interesting. Not only are you an African American veteran, but you're a female African American veteran. You've served your country. You've done everything. So,
just today, I talked to the president from the Cochise Vietnam veterans.
Yeah.
Bill was a great guy.
Yeah, he's awesome. I love Bill.
Oh, he is just
it was a really interesting discussion.
Really good. The organizations that are here, we work with the NAAC directly because of the black culture.
Right.
We support it. We're getting ready. They're planning the Juneteenth event. And we are working with the summit, the Sierra Vista Coalition, a black coalition, which is the community of black culture that can come together and support each other. When you come here to this veterans facility, not only do you run into the Vietnam vets,
Mm-hmm.
but the OIS that has occurred, now they all come together, writing on their resumes, helping you
Yep.
support with finances, helping you support with going to the doctor, if you need books or understanding, or if you're having some issues developing in how do I transition.
One of the things, no, and you're right, I'm glad you're bringing this up, is that a discussion, but transitioning can be very challenging.
Yes.
We're very fortunate here in Arizona, in Sierra Vista, I think. We're a veteran community. So we have resources available
Yes.
to assist that veteran and their families. And those are really good questions. How do I pay for school? How do I do anything to be more successful? Because the fear of the unknown.
The fear of the unknown. But ask the question.
Yeah.
So I tell you to ask the question. Come to the Healing Warrior Center, ask the question.
Mm-hmm.
Because if not one, the other will go to the next
Exactly.
door. And it's amazing, even to the point of they having a little puppy when you train the puppies. I thought that's so cool. I'm like, oh, look at that. And the girl's out back. She told me today, she said, come this weekend. They got a little garden in the back. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow, this is phenomenal.
It really is. And this is, I feel, it's a one-of-a-kind thing. Originally, I joined the state as a disabled veteran outreach professional, working as a veteran employment specialist. So we started coming over here, and we work with other partners, our other community partners and stuff like that. But over here, it was like last week, sitting with a bunch of veterans from Vietnam era to OIF, mm-hmm. a wide range, mm-hmm. And for a long time, I took a step back from my veteran community. I really did, and it wasn't intentional or anything like that. But I fast forward to today. Here I am sitting around with my battle buddies, mm-hmm. my brothers and my sister. It feels at home. Because now we can have discussions,
But that brings up a whole nother point. What I find in talking to the veterans, especially our older ones, young people, don't be afraid to ask them to tell you what they went through. Tell us.
The stories are awesome.
Where did they go? What place? Get a map and tell them the point where they was. And I'm finding from just opening to say, where was you? And tell me when you was there. They begin to pour out. And then I get so many that come to me and say, I don't know the stories. Mm-hmm. And they
exactly.
are most veterans have a Foot Locker that's in the storage shed with tons of stories that no one has asked them what's the story.
But what's fascinating, though, we have veterans from various generations. And yeah, we may have fought in different campaigns, this and that. But we all had the same thing in common. We served mm-hmm. our country. We embraced the suck. Mm-hmm. It was not fun. But to sit down and talk to these individuals, mm-hmm. I have a friend of mine there. He's not an American veteran, but his fellow battle buddies put together a podcast. And it is so amazing listening to these old guys talk. Mm-hmm. Their experiences, when they had to go through training, when they were in combat and stuff like that, it's like, wow.
Right. It's the integrity that we learn to trust each other today. From that era to now, I've learned to trust. I've learned to embrace the love that is given from being in the military. Mm-hmm. And being in the military, I have learned that today is not going to last. Tomorrow is going to move forward. Move forward. The mission is ready forward. Move forward. Most soldiers, when we leave the military, it's still inside of them, and they have a hard time relating to pass that on, and then they get in a culture shock because exactly. I'm afraid to tell you the truth.
No, and you're right, because, and it's funny, because my wife, Linda, she gives me a hard time because I can't, got to have the AC on.
Right.
Got to have the fan on.
You got to tell the story. You got to tell the truth.
But it's funny because our experiences shape us who we are today. As a soldier, a retired soldier, retired non-commissioned officer, uh, it it is. I get a kick out of sitting down with you,
Right.
G.
Right.
And sometimes the discussion we have, we'll have outsiders that'll say, "What the heck are they talking about?"
Right. Veterans, you have to come here because the family members. I want to even challenge the sons and daughters of veterans because they don't understand them. Come inside and just have conversation. Today was great. They had
The bagels and burgers.
bagels and beer outside. It was outside.
It's
And you're
kind of
able
warm,
to
but
just to
it's okay.
see the veterans and their conversations and
Mhm.
their talk. And sometimes those conversations are a little bit up there. But I tell you what, everybody holds on to each other.
Mhm.
Everybody talks to each other. Everybody's courteous with each other. Everybody communes with each other. If we could have got a game of cards, we'd have got a game of cards together. These are the type things that happen here at the Healing Center. It is
Exactly.
fantastic. If you come here, don't be afraid of the benefits that we have earned as a veteran.
Exactly.
Come here because it gives you everything that we like.
So, with that said,
Okay.
thank you very much for coming on today. I was so excited. I was talking to G about this. I really didn't know how to begin the discussion because it's a fascinating one.
Ready
And-
forward.
And you look at the list, Medal of Honor is out of this list. Who would you pick to start a conversation about? So it was hard. So
It is hard.
and it took us about 2 hours.
Yes.
So, but anyway,
Yes.
thank you. It was really cool having you
Well,
on.
the Buffalo Soldiers are here. We're not going. We're open to everybody. Again, I tell us you can find us on swabuffalosoldiers.org. You can just hit the contact. I check it every day just to see who's out there. Veterans, come forward. Or families of veterans, if you feel any doubt or unconcern or just understanding or just want to talk to someone, just come in the door and someone will always be there for you. Jerry has been helping me. I'm in a job search. I'm looking for a job. And Jerry has been my number one main man. And I'm like, wow, look at this. Someone who is there purposely just for me. And then he redirected me. I ran into the women warrior. The women warrior were even stronger than the men warrior. I'm like, oh, okay. And the women warrior come in just as strong.
I mean, it's the intensity.
The intensity is just like, wow, we're going to win.
Why aren't you part of us? It was like, why aren't you here? Sign now.
So I say that what our motto this year is Ready Forward, which is a 10th Cavalry motto, Ready Forward. We move forward. We carry the buffalo, the legacy of the buffalo. The buffalo don't quit. This animal does not quit. He was
stubborn, tenacious.
Tenacious. I can't give you the evidence of this. What I will say is a spiritual thing. That buffaloes were sacred.
Mm-hmm.
Out of 1,000, the Indians respected that buffalo.
And they used every part.
They might have killed one out of 1,000. And that one took care of them for that season.
Yeah, it's a neat story. It truly is.
So we don't quit. This is the reason why we carry the buffalo. Buffaloes don't quit. So in saying so, and me leaving, I'm going to pass this on to Mr. Jerry. Say, here, don't quit.
Awesome.
Continue
Thank
on.
you, sister. This
So
is
I
awesome.
had a fantastic time, and it's just great.
I do want to say, again, thank you for coming on today. It was awesome. To all of you out there in Facebook land, go to the Warrior Healing Center. Like us on Facebook. Please don't hesitate to ask questions. Call us. Email us. My email is jcurrier@azdes.gov. My phone number is 520-439-3550. If you want to come on down to the Warrior Healing Center, or if you go to our office on 2600 Paseo San Luis, ask to speak to a DVOP. Ask to speak to myself or Kevin Mcfadden, my golf buddy. I can't say battle buddy. For some odd reason, being in the Air Force, he doesn't understand that term. But yeah, come on down. If you're in one of our remote, if you're in Safford, you're in Douglas, you're in Clifton, go into your local workforce office, Arizona at Work, And if you need to speak to a veteran representative, ask for Kevin or myself. We will come to you. And we will assist you to the best of our ability. Even if it's just come asking questions, I'll drive down to you. Gives me a really good excuse to go to some really amazing place in Safford, by the way. Chunky guy. But we'll come to you. But yeah, don't hesitate to ask. And one more time, come on down to the Warrior Healing Center at 1838 Paseo San Luis. It's a phenomenal organization. There's over, I believe, 54 organizations here. It took me forever to get Demetria down here, but I'm glad she showed up. It wasn't easy, but again, thank you, sister. It was awesome.
Thank you. All right.
I'd give you a hug,
That's
but
right. Yeah.
you hurt me earlier when you gave me a hug. But anyway, so again, thank you. We look forward to seeing you next week. Awesome. We'll be time on target Thursday at 1300. We look forward to seeing you guys again. You all have a good day. Bye-bye. Stop this. Finish. Here we go.